I believe we first came to learn about the financial fraud that was going on by way of Daniel and Malaya's troubles with the Canadian government and the CCTB. Anita was on Mike Demands last night and she acknowledged this around the 1 hour mark, but there's a question. There's a question that popped up under my video. They partied all night, left kids locked in the room, and went out and stole on ATVs. From Lori McNutty. Hey, Lori. She states she didn't have the baby before she went to Lansdowne, so how did she claim CCTB for her at Patty's? And Tambourine has an interesting explanation. Now remember, there's 5 kids involved, so it's not just Meadow. But this is plausible and it sounds legit. You remember when allegedly, from Daniel's admission to the police, after 2 weeks he had moved into Patty's and then got, kicked out. So Malaya would have been living there and that would have been her mailing address. When she got kicked out and decided to live with Daniel, she never changed any of that information. Now, Tambourine has an interesting response here. Tambourine 36 was probably claiming to still be living at Patty's, getting all of her mail sent there and the address for the child tax benefit and maybe DCS check. I don't know what the DCS is, a GST, and child support. If she claimed living in Lansdowne, the 2 incomes would have been combined. And yeah, they were living common law for almost 3 years. At times, Danny did work full-time, and it was a slow time where he was on EI plus working 1 day per week. She wouldn't be entitled to as much dollars as she was living on Garlock with Daniel. So she probably never changed her address when she moved. Then Daniel allegedly claimed all children, so it's really complicated. There's more than one thing going on. Danny turns around and claims all 5 children on his taxes as dependents to get more back. Then didn't file for 3 years, apparently, and it caught up with them. She had checkout, owned money back to the baby bonus, DCS, and probably income tax. What are you referencing as DCS in this, I wonder, Tambourine? I'm trying to think. DCS. I don't know. I can't think of what that would be an acronym for. What a big mess if this is what was happening. Plus, C lost his job and had to stop paying child support, which would have really put a damper on the money situation. Of course, this is Tambourine's opinion and speculation.
Woody lives the area.
Right.
And Daniel's mind would be, here's your kids back. I didn't want to take care of them. You didn't pay child support anymore. And I'll touch on something in a dance about way because I don't want to touch on sensitive material if I'm called to trial, but I'll touch on it that the intelligent viewers will understand.
Mm-hmm.
Malaya was angry with Cody when the child support stopped. And angry because why should he be out living his free life with his girlfriend and I'm stuck here with the kids? And Daniel, remember, is thinking, why the hell am I taking care of these children when she can't deal with them?
Right.
And that does play into why Lily and Jack are no longer here.
Right.
And I did tell the detectives, go back 3 months. And they said, what do you mean, Anita? And I said, listen to me. If the child support stopped, the child tax benefit stopped. And in Canada, people get what they call a baby bonus or CCTB. It's a lot of money. And what I believed happened, I was told, and it's secondhand information, but I believe it. Daniel filed for all the children, meaning his 2 and the
Mhm.
3 that were Malaya's. And she was collecting for the 2 children at Patty's, and she was cut
And we
off.
don't,
So
just to clarify, we don't know that, but let's say it.
yes, I know that. She told me.
Oh, about the 2 children, his own 2 children?
She told me that the little girl told, and she also told me about the money.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I said,
I will.
Malaya, what do you mean? And she said, that's why I'm cut off. So her grandmother, Patty's house, she was getting the child tax benefit for Lily, Jack, and Meadow, which is her
Mhm.
children. But Daniel, I don't know why he did this, filed for
Yeah.
all the children. And then I said, Malaya, she goes, well, I think, I don't want to say the little girl's name, but his oldest daughter will see. That's why Daniel's
Uh-huh.
not allowed to see his kids right now. And Janie's mad too. They can't see the children.
Right.
Because the little
Yeah, I
girl
know.
explained that it was dangerous. She talked about them being locked in a room. People don't want to believe that. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe about the lock in the fridge. They don't want to believe the kids were starved. They don't want to believe that I witnessed the child thin, the baby. They don't want to believe the little
Mhm.
girl was starved. They don't want to believe that the children were left and they went to party and drink all night and on TVs and steal. But I don't care what the people believe. I care what the detectives believe and the judge. And I
Well, it does really sound like it's definitely, a factor in the situation, of course. Just off of how long that they've been together and pulling this scheme, it probably would have caught up to them in 16 months. Like, let's say you file a tax return and claim 5 kids and it was flawed, and you got paid out thousands of dollars on your tax return. You could do that a couple times, and they will ask you, for example, to send in what is evidence and things that would suggest that the kids are living there, or whatever the auditor in a Canada Revenue Agency would dictate through their online system. Anyway, but you could probably get away with it for 18 months before they took it to the point where they just cut it off because you didn't respond, or you didn't submit the proper paperwork back. But they took the step. According to the Globe and Mail, it was April 30th, a day before May 1st, two before May 2nd, obviously. Now, their financial scheme was catching up to them. They just straight up and cut it off because of what they realized and where everybody was living. So I'm wondering if they have to go and resubmit their taxes, or does the Canada Revenue Agency just do it for them? Here, you did this fraudulently. They don't throw it out the window, but maybe it's just all in a state of limbo. We don't really know. What we do know is that there was financial fraud going on. Well, several little ploys, all coming back to the same thing. And am I right when of course, Anita brought up that Malaya had been, or Patty had been receiving the monies on behalf of Malaya for taking care of the kids, like on her taxes when she was living with Patty? That's so bizarre. Why wasn't Malaya just getting the money directly? Why was Patty receiving it? Was it in exchange for room and lodging? I don't know what sort of agreement that they had, but why couldn't it just be an exchange of money in hands? Why did it have to be names? Is Patty was she named as a guardian to Jack and Lily at that point in time? Like, how is it Patty can go? Maybe I'm under the wrong understanding. Maybe somebody can tell me in comment section. You know, how would Patty be claiming the kids? Like, the kids were living with her. So was the mother. So was. I'm curious to know that scenario.